Filson sells a rain jacket for $395. The label reads Bangladesh, a cover cloth coat, also $395. Sri Lanka. In 2015, roughly 90% of Filson's products were made in the United States. By 2025, that number fell to around 35%. The Seattle workforce dropped from 369 to under 100. How did a heritage brand become an outsourcing scandal, and why did 3 competitors prove it never had to? For over a century, the C.C. Filson Company built its name on a rugged promise: gear fit for the Klondike Gold Rush, manufactured in the Pacific Northwest. In 2015, that promise remained intact. Approximately 90% of Filson's entire product catalog was built inside the United States, anchored by 2 bustling workshops in Seattle. The flagship factory in the Sodo district was the physical proof of this commitment. Visitors could stand behind glass partitions on the retail floor and watch union sewers assemble heavy tin cloth jackets and wool cruisers. This transparency established a clear covenant with the consumer. Buyers spent hundreds of dollars on a single garment because they believed in this local pedigree. They paid a premium for Pacific Northwest craftsmanship, expecting that their purchase directly funded American union labor on a historic factory floor. The Sodo workshop was the ultimate marketing tool. Because it was real, it proved that the brand's identity matched its actual manufacturing footprint, earning the trust of customers who believed that premium prices belonged to domestic labor. Under the direction of Texas-based parent company Bedrock Manufacturing, founded by Tom Kartsotis and led by Chief Executive Officer Awanat Kabina, Filson's domestic footprint shrank. By 2025, Filson's domestic production volume fell to approximately 35%. While the premium price tags remained, the manufacturing labels began reflecting a global supply chain. The $395 Skagit rain jacket carries a tag that reads "Made in Bangladesh." The $395 cover cloth mile marker coat is sewn in Sri Lanka. The $250 fleece-lined wax jacket comes from Peru. These high-end items, still marketed under the banner of rugged Pacific Northwest heritage, now rely on factories thousands of miles away from the damp forests of Washington. The shift accelerated in late 2023 under Filson Chief Executive Officer Paolo Corinaldesi. Bedrock announced plans to move up to 2/3 of the remaining Seattle area production to an outside garment contractor near Los Angeles, California. This decision dismantled the local manufacturing base. The Seattle area workforce, which numbered 369 employees in 2015, plummeted to fewer than 100 workers by 2025. This reduction eliminated stable, skilled union jobs that had defined the brand's local identity for decades. This transition also ended the live sewing operation at the Sodo flagship store. The glass-walled production floor, where customers once watched union sewers construct heavy tin cloth garments, went dark. The physical connection between the Seattle consumer and the local maker was severed. The space that once served as proof of craftsmanship became a retail stage, leaving buyers to pay premium heritage prices for apparel made in overseas factories. In Bozeman, Montana, an alternative manufacturing model operates away from the corporate pressure of offshoring. Here, specialty pack maker Glacier builds its entire line of hunting packs, frames, and accessories on American soil. Founded by Kurt Rassicott, a sheep hunter who designed his first gear to survive the Alaskan wilderness, the brand operates on the belief that domestic production is a functional advantage, not just a marketing slogan. This commitment is built directly into the raw materials. Glacier constructs its packs using berry-compliant cordura and domestically sourced waterproof X-Pack fabric. To meet the Berry Amendment standard, every single fiber, yarn, and fabric component must be grown, processed, and woven in the United States. For hunters carrying survival gear into remote country, This domestic pedigree guarantees structural integrity when carrying heavy loads exceeding 150 pounds. Rassicot observed that American hunters are highly discerning consumers who deliberately choose domestic craftsmanship over cheaper imported alternatives. He argues that there is a distinct sense of pride in both manufacturing in the United States and owning American-made gear. By keeping design, cutting, and sewing local, Stone Glacier maintains immediate oversight of production, proving that a premium outdoor brand can maintain its standards without sending its labor overseas. This proves that United States manufacturing remains entirely viable at premium price points, offering a direct rebuttal to the idea that global supply chains are an inevitable necessity. In Oregon City, Oregon, another manufacturing model proves that domestic production can scale to massive numbers without sacrificing transparency. Inside a 144,000 square foot factory, Benchmade Knife Company manufactures more than 1 million blades every year. This massive output relies on continuous laser cutting operations, automated grinding, and precise hand assembly, all managed by a local workforce of over 400 employees. Unlike brands that obscure where their materials come from, Benchmade treats provenance as a visible specification. Visitors can walk the factory floor to see the fabrication process firsthand. On its digital storefront, every product page discloses the exact origin of the blade steel, openly stating whether the raw metal comes from the United States, Japan, or Sweden. In 2010, under the continuous ownership of the Diasis family, Benchmade pulled its primary manufacturing back from Taiwan to its Oregon facility, ending a decade-long experiment with offshore production. By returning all blade fabrication to Oregon City, the family solidified their control over the entire assembly line, keeping production steps local and regional. Benchmade treats material sourcing as a core product feature rather than a hidden detail. The brand proves that a company can produce high-volume premium gear domestically while remaining completely open about where the raw materials are bought. This approach reframes country of origin labeling from a regulatory requirement into an active selling point. Danner has manufactured boots in Portland, Oregon since 1936, following its founding by Charles Danner in 1932. Today, the brand's Portland Select collection is built inside that same West Coast facility, keeping its heritage tied to active local factory floors. For its military contracts and premium work lines, Danner adheres to strict Berry-compliant standards. This legal certification requires every piece of leather, fiber, eyelet, and lace to be sourced from the United States, alongside full domestic assembly. While approximately 30% of Danner's overall production is made in Portland, Oregon, the brand maintains its legacy through real domestic labor. It serves as a final proof point that premium Pacific Northwest gear can still be made where it is designed. Filson continues to sell the romantic myth of the 1897 gold rush, charging premium prices for a legacy built on Seattle rain and sweat. Yet the actual labor has been quietly exported to factories across the globe. This gap exposes the real conflict of the modern outdoor market. Stone Glacier, Benchmade, and Danner each show that American manufacturing is not an impossible relic of the past. They prove that companies can still pay local wages, source domestic materials, and build rugged gear at the exact price points customers are already paying. Ultimately, the industry faces a crisis of accountability. When the heritage story on the hang tag diverges from the reality of the sewing floor, consumer trust is replaced by a costly illusion. Today, a premium price tag no longer guarantees domestic craftsmanship. It guarantees only the marketing of it. As competitors prove, American manufacturing remains viable. The choice lies with the consumer. Are we buying real heritage or just its image? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.